Juanita Hoff's parents believed in the importance of civic participation. The apple didn't fall far from the tree.
I was involved with a group of people that were not happy with what was happening up at the city of New Hope.
That group of people met at a local coffee shop where she made a serendipitous connection.
Sitting right beside me on a table was a fellow clipping out newspapers articles, which I had been doing a lot of to kind of keep on top of things. So I just made a comment to him and we started talking, and it happened to be Kevin Pfeiffer. He said, well, why didn't I come on his program and be his New Hope correspondent?
January 20th.
It'd be really nice if several people would go January 20th.
January 20th.
Must have been about February or so of the next year. Kevin said, you know, you could have your own TV show.
And so Juanita signed up for the video production classes offered by Northwest Community Television on a Super Saturday.
The part of the training that I thought was really helpful, and being an old teacher, was that you actually have people doing the processes.
Once she completed the training, the hard work began. Where was she going to find people to interview?
I made up a letter and sent it to every candidate that filed in all 9 cities. Enough people replied and said, yes, they'd like to be on the show. My husband, Andy, who's on the city council, because we're both involved in city politics, is also a camera person. But he also goes out to different events. So he's on the look for new guests for me, too. And then I had to figure out, okay, what was this show going to be like? How was I going to structure it? How was it going to work? It moved from being several people talking about several different issues to concentrating on one city at a time. What we're doing now is moving smoothly, but we're trying to think of ways that we can reach out to get more of the citizen point of view. Usually I try to schedule people for a couple months at a time because we tape twice a month so that you aren't expecting too much of volunteers. Then when it's about a week before, then I call them up so that I can talk with them to find out what are the current issues in their city. It takes about 6 or 7 issues to give us an hour's worth of taping. Then I have to spend, it usually takes a couple hours to think through the issues, because I've learned a lot about city governments that in our area. Think about the issues and what I'd like to know about them, what questions I want to ask. So I put that into an outline, and that goes back to the person so they know what they're talking about. Yeah, they know what questions. It's not a surprise show where you're kind of saying gotcha. Then the next step is to make sure I have enough people to cover all the slots in the studio. I am so happy that I've had people that have been like a constant. If you've got a good solid base of people that know what you're doing and they can do it easily, that makes the whole process go smoothly. And then once we get to the studio, it's a matter of getting the set together and the process of, the time checks and all of that. I always tell people, forget about the cameras, don't worry about them. We're just sitting in my living room and we're talking about the issues in your city. So then we go through the taping. And of course, once the taping's through, then comes the interesting part on editing. That's another whole process in itself. I have learned a lot, and I feel like I know about this much at this point because there's so much to learn. So I like to go like the right next day, because then everything's fresh and how I want it, and work one fell swoop. So I come in about 1 o'clock and work till about 11. Not always, but often I can get both shows completed in that time, because out of an hour's taping, then I edit it to 2 half-hour shows. When I first did it, I don't even know how many hours it took me, but it took a lot.
Now a veteran producer, Juanita still finds that it's not always smooth sailing.
Some months, getting the people scheduled to be the guests can be difficult. Sometimes it's making sure I have enough crew. And sometimes it might be when we're doing the taping and there's little glitches happening and, it's not going as smoothly. And then sometimes it might be the editing where the equipment isn't quite cooperating.
Juanita has found that despite the difficulties that can sometimes arise, producing her own show does have its benefits.
I think the most rewarding part is when you have people come up and tell you that they like what's happening or they're glad that you're putting it on the air. That's rewarding. And I think the other rewarding part is I really think people should get more involved in their city government, and I'm doing something about it.